Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in Odessa the Dark Crusade, Season 2. However, this scene takes place just outside of Odessa, well, quite a distance actually, around 30 to 40 miles away, within the ever-beloved township of Odessa, Timurin, not Odessa. It's away from Odessa. As to La Sombra, who holds some status within the domain of varying degrees, have returned in flight from the plague-ridden ruin that is currently Odessa. Once parts of a mighty triumvirate, its true strength now being tested by perhaps one of the single greatest tragedies that can befall a city. That of an epidemic, disease, plague, vermin. And Eirene and Madelain, one can only assume, have returned to warn the princedom of Timurin of this, this catastrophe. Or discover it if it has already reached the area. And these two return to the city in the similar covered carriage. What you see... actually, first, where do you want to go within Timurin?
I believe the first stop would be depending on whether or not there's dead bodies in the streets.
Or not?
I think the first would be the city guard.
Right. So, you're able to pay a visit to the city watch here. You have some degree of access. What is it you're precisely looking for? Are you looking to talk to them?
Madelain is going to try to get people off the streets and into their houses. Or at least make sure that there is that people begin to go get inside and not hunker down, but at least try to get us the streets cleared. And
the streets are a bit more sparse than normal. But it still seems fairly business as usual here. Again, it is sparser. It's less populated. Town Square in particular.
And she's also going to say that the City Watch should probably close off the gate because a disaster has hit Odessa. And
did you tell them what the disaster is, or do you just tell them a disaster hit Odessa?
She will not specify, but she will say that there might be coming refugees from the city. And at this point, we should not take in refugees.
So,
until we are 100% sure about what happened.
When it's night, they generally have the gates closed and open the gates usually for night travelers and mercantile caravans. Not a lot of them. Again, it's a case of they can afford to keep the gates closed because not a ton of visitors happen to visit the city at night. They do happen. You are one of them.
Hmm.
Um,
But she's going to insist that the guard will get on the gate and keep an eye out, and
they'll keep
that
they're kind of a bit like they kind of look between like each other and then just kind of stare at you very blankly as if you're a crazy person.
Irene will probably lead into Madelain. It's like, we need to make sure that they keep the gates closed during the day, but we also need to make sure if the city is still healthy, that we get as much food and resources into the gates as possible.
I have made several preparations. Our food stores are stocked, and our water supply should be safe for the moment. Madeline will turn to them, and she will describe that there are uh, a large amount of sick people in the streets of Odessa, and it seems as though a very serious disease has hit the city. And we need to make sure that as few people from Odessa come into Timiran, so we can keep this sickness at bay.
They seem a bit skeptical of your claims, mainly because you're 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 kind of a random person to them, telling them what to do. So they don't seem to really take your word for it that much, and are very seem to be getting more insistent
God
that
damn
you
it,
leave
why
their
I wouldn't give
presence.
her presents at this very fucking moment.
I mean, we have
Yeah,
dominate.
you dominate. They don't complete your social discipline.
Yeah. She's gonna try. Well, what is the role for dominate? And she just get
What level of it are you using?
level 2 since it's more than one word. It's instructions.
Manipulation leadership. Difficulty for this is 3 because they're mortals and aren't particularly strong-willed.
Manipulation, leadership.
If they actually had to exert their will, they would be even lower difficulty.
I know this is gonna sound really strange, but can I add or assist in any way?
You can't assist really when it comes to
3
dominate rolls.
successes.
It's from individual to individual.
Fair enough. Fair
3
enough.
successes.
Oh, that's enough.
I mean that's generally more than enough because it's not necessarily contrary to their interests and doesn't
And
put them in immediate danger. So
do keep in mind that she's not trying to bark orders at them. She's trying to be convincing. She's trying to convince them that this is actually real and this is really dangerous and we need to do this to save the city. That's the angle she's doing it. She's just not do it because I say so.
we try to put a on a convincing air. They will follow your orders to the spirit and the letter to which they understand them.
And she will also add that the closing of the gate should be held during the day, and everyone entering should be kept at a distance because they might also be sick. But
Okay.
um,
How many are you doing this to just the 2 guards? I assume you're doing this to the 2 guards.
well, she will find if it's only 2 guards they're talking to, she will try and do it to the commander as well.
Well, yeah, you're not going to have it to the whole watch. The commander isn't present right now.
She will
The kind of
then find the commander.
the
She will get people to wake him.
It's not that he's asleep. You quickly discover he's somewhere else off in the city tending to his duties.
Right. She will say to the guards present that they should get to the gate and make sure that no one enters.
Are you doing this for both guards? Because you'll need to roll again for the second guard. Dominate only
Righto,
rolls
I will do that.
Yeah, it's not like presence where it affects multiple people at once.
Also,
Okay, so
how many
fine.
gates
3
are
successes
there?
as well.
Pardon?
How many gates are there?
4.
Ah,
One for each pole, basically. Well, pole, but north,
Well,
east, west.
that will be one of them. They will. She will then try to find the watch commander.
You don't really know where he is. He could be anywhere in the city
Okay.
right now.
Fuck it. Then they will go to the castle as fast as possible.
Okay.
I mean, we could
How's
send
Eirene
out.
faring on this wild ride?
Are there any runners? Because like I can imagine the gates are communicating with each other as well. Is there like a runner
Um,
from one gate to another that is present at this gate?
there aren't always runners. Sometimes it's just they have like just basically the least among them carry communications for them. Sometimes they have for more urgent messages, they do have runners and people on horseback. There isn't necessarily one on station at all times. It's rather as as we require them or as standard procedure dictates. I will roll a chance die for you to see if there is one present for you to talk to. You rolled a 3, so unfortunately they're currently not present right now. There is one. There is one on shift, or on a basically the equivalent of on shift. Running from the making a run from the north to the east. From the north to the east gate. Seems like a standard procedure thing of like everything is all clear here. We found this and that. Basically, sharing reports of information, so that the same issue does not occur at other gates. I assume that's a dominate check.
Yes.
What are you dominating? Who are you dominating? Because there is not a runner present, so I assume you're dominating someone else.
Yes, she will dominate one of the guards present, and will just simply say that they should spread this order to the other gates.
So,
like how they do it, that's up to them, as long as they spread the word.
But before I have you issue this command or this subjugate, dominate power, it should be noted. And I'm just going to double check this. I believe you can only issue one particular level 2 order per person at a time. Adding a new command using subjugation before the old one expires requires a comparison of successes between new and old. The command with a higher number of successes wins. In the event of a tie, the new command overrides the old. So you're issuing a new command to one of these people. You got...
I got 3 successes.
And I believe that would make it a tie.
Yeah.
Which means your command overrides Madelain's.
Madelain looks at Eirene and just nods.
So one of the guards will kind of be on his way, but he's not exactly a runner. I mean, he's not he's not in the attire to really be a runner, and he's not really for particular physique. He's not unfit. He is a guard. He does long shifts. He does do things, but it's not a case of...
It's more the bulky type and not the swift and
it's not just that, but he's not running every day.
Yeah. No, but that's fine. But at least the news will be passed along to the other gates before. Like, if they go up to the castle now, then it's going to take longer before the issue is commanded to the other gates. And that's
you reckon it might
basically
take him at least an hour, maybe more, just because he's like in kind of...
We're going to the castle now, so...
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like, she basically told him to use whatever means he thinks is fit. He can also hire someone to run to the gates, whatever. Like, but yeah, let's go to the castle.
There is no room for hesitation or indecisiveness in dominate. No.
I mean, if he goes himself, that's fine as well.
Dominate is all about robbing someone of their choice, not about providing one.
I think I kind of disagree. It depends on how you issue your commands, but
really, dominating someone to do something is not robbing them of a decision.
I mean, it totally is, but like
I squint my eyes at you.
No,
madam.
but this is like the discussion of like I can command you to be creative. So you can still be creative. Like you're just forced to be
No,
creative.
so
But
Dominic,
it
you
does,
could
like,
force someone to
whatever.
try and be creative. That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean they would be.
No, this is true. This is true.
And they still perform that command to the degree at which they understand it.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. And if he goes running on his own, then that is perfectly fine.
that was the
At least
extra
it's
order
on
you
his way.
gave him. You added in
Yeah.
the higher thing as kind of as a PS.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. No, that's
Um,
fair. That's fair.
which I'll have to belay. I do apologize.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
So he
That's
runs
sad.
off. He'll be very tired and sad.
Aw.
It should be noted. One thing you note about the city guards is that they are they're not veiled, but they they do take pains to ensure the lower half of their face, the jaw, the chin, that the mouth is covered. Particularly those on the ground, not necessarily those above, but those on the ground.
Interesting.
And yeah, you begin making your way to the to the palace. This is where I'm going to ask both of you to make a perception alertness check, then make a perception awareness check.
So it begins. I just had to do that.
At times the same dice roll for me, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy, no.
Um,
Sorry, I don't see shit. Do I
Yeah,
still need to
so-
make the awareness check, or?
so Irene's busy being starry-eyed and loves the stars. The stars are delightful.
I mean, they are.
Yeah, they really are. They're so pretty. You can make out the constellations. You can see Orion's belt.
Yay.
That's the real success. Madelain, so this was your perception alertness check, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
So your alertness check, you can see, you can see a figure on this tower. In the fortress itself, there is kind of a watchtower. There are two towers, one of which is a bell tower, the other of which is a literal watchtower. That is more. That seems to be made for a more martial purpose. It's more heavily fortified, in a sense that there is kind of a. I don't know what the name is, but it's like a stone banister, which archers use as cover.
Mm-hmm.
And the tower itself is not well, both have roofs, like in the fact that they have like small stone roofs, but the bell tower is largely like not covered, and both are quite well lit. There are also 4 other watchtowers like on each side of the palace. Actually, quite a lot, but on the outskirts. But on the inner side, there's only 2. And you can see a rather dark, foreboding figure standing atop one of these towers. The bell tower, in particular, that overlooks most of the southern end of the town. In fact, all of the southern end of the town. In fact, you could see the whole town from up there. But also provides a rather nice vista of Odessa itself, of which you can't really perceive yet as you're still traveling up the hill. But yeah, you may both make perception awareness rolls as well.
Ooh! Ooh!
Okay.
Oh wow, nice.
Irene, stop being bad and roll.
Hey, I'm rolling, okay?
No. Okay. Irene.
Yes.
With 2 successes. Um, you feel a certain force that you have not felt before as you travel up to the fortress itself. Or it really in the ground more than within the air. It's almost as if the energy of the earth is tingling. Like it's almost as if the earth ripples, but not visibly.
Okay. Does it feel, or I don't know if you can determine that at this point, but especially not with 2 successes. Is it good or bad? Like, did
2
you get a good?
successes, you can only determine what you're feeling rather than the sort of positivity or negativity of the force, and that's really if it decides to make it. If said force were good or evil, it might not be good or evil at all. And if a
True.
force were capable of hiding it, it could hide it.
Mhm.
There are a lot of that could be very varied. That's a very kind of great question. In a sense that there could be many answers.
I have 5 successes.
You have, yes, you do. 5 successes. Yeah, you feel what Eirene feels as you step foot on the castle grounds. But it's almost like it's almost as if like this is a simple. It's almost as if yes, a pebble were cast into water. This is not the source of anything. This is just an after effect of something else. A very distinct and very disconcerting presence, almost like almost as if you were staring into the core of the earth, like the center of the earth itself, as you gaze upon the castle grounds and look down. There is something beneath this place that is emanating this unnatural power, like this force,
Madelain just
like a beating heart.
Like the
Madelain
dragon
just
under our
turns her head,
beds.
to Eirene and just says, "I do believe we have found our dragon under our beds. Prepare yourself." And she will continue into the castle.
Irene will um how easy is the access to the training swords?
Oh, trivial. You don't have a training
And
sword.
she'll grab 2 wooden training swords, one for Madelain, one for herself. You never know when wood can come handy.
That really is quite endearing.
I mean,
I want to give Irene a hug now. It's like a kid holding a wooden sword. It's like, I'm gonna slay the dragon.
Actually, if you use it as a stake, it's
exactly.
actually not that bad,
I just,
honestly.
but it's like so cute. Just visualize like little kid
Oh, yeah.
Irene. It's like, I'm gonna slay the dragon.
God damn it.
And then the dragon's like, no.
It was supposed. Never mind. You know, fuck it. Yes, she has 2 training swords, one for her, one for Madelain, that
She's
they
trying
might be able to use as swords or as stakes.
so hard. Yeah, so you're able to enter the palace. The palace is eerily silent, other than the occasional footsteps of servants. It's really the only thing distinct about this place, other than the constant waves of force that kind of wash over the earth in this, almost like almost like a shallow wave across sand.
Is there an opportunity to make this sort of an extended roll to get more information regarding this kind of unnatural wave?
You could make another roll, but it'd be +2 diff.
Why the fuck not? Can always give it a try.
Oh, well, you get a single success, which doesn't really give you much more information than you already have.
Fair enough.
You do feel it getting stronger as you approach the interior, or as you enter the interior of the fortress itself.
I believe we are too late. I do believe that something has happened. But you should keep your eyes open regardless.
Madelain, where's Ulrich?
That is my worry, among
Yes.
other things. Madelain is clearly seems tense. Tenser than you've probably seen her before. Her normal, like, keeping up appearances, or whatever you want to call it, like, professional demeanor is gone. She seems very tense.
Yeah, I mean, Eirene has a similar aura around her.
Madelain is quite hurt. She needs to find Ulrich, if he's still around.
Eirene is really, really hating the fact, or well, Irene's player is really hating the fact that she doesn't have a blood
So,
bond to
where do you
Ulrich.
go to search? Where do you go to search the palace? Because everything here seems eerily normal for what you're sensing.
Regardless, Madelain will search high and low for Ulrich.
Now, what place do you go to first? Because there's quite a few. Obviously, you're aware of the various different bedrooms, cellars, basements. The main hall where Elysium was held.
Work or study.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Elysium, and then a bedroom, and then big basements and stuff.
Okay.
If there is a library, she will also check there before going to the basements.
Eirene would make the point to Madelain that if something bad is happening downstairs, she could not imagine Ulrich not knowing about it and not being there trying to stop it.
Everyone make if you go to the basements, which you do at some point, if that is
Madelain will just look at Eirene, think for a second. She'll just nod, and she will head down with Eirene to the basement.
Okay. Can you make me a perception alertness check? Difficulty.
Madelain will have Auspex activated. Does this affect it?
It does. The difficulty is going to be max difficulty 10. For you, it'll be lowered by 2, but it is a very hard roll.
Nope.
Fuck! I was so close. Look at that roll. God damn it!
I don't botch. I just fail.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really sorry. The kind of at this point it almost feels like there should be cracks in the floor itself. The presence you feel, the weight of force upon this place is far greater than it was up above. Ulrich is not here though, and you don't see anything that is out of place. But you could swear you're very, very close. You're not far away. You're perhaps only meters away. Like just judging by like just the sheer contrast in what you're feeling.
Just a quick out of character question. Blood-wise, are we by the new rules or the old rules at this point? Since this is the day that
new
it
rules. It is new rules. Oh wait, yeah, you're right. This is the day it happened, so you would still be on old rules at this point.
It would be like a day or two after it would.
It would literally, yeah, this should be the night after the new rules would be implemented because of issues. But because it's the same day.
Yeah, this is
yeah.
the day it starts, or
Yeah, so
night it starts, but yeah.
Nightfall, Operation Nightfall.
Madelain will spend blood to
big eye on
buff
your
some
pocket.
stats. I can write it, or I can keep track of it myself.
Just put in chat.
Okay. Madelain will continue. She will look around. She wants to find whatever the hell this is. Oh, in this chat. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, Eirene is definitely following closely to Madelain.
Okay. So you're gonna keep looking for whatever it is that you're looking for.
Oh yes.
Okay. Then you will be allowed to make a retest. And also, because you're being thorough, presumably, the difficulty will be 9 instead.
I just use my previous
Ulrich
roll.
Cav is not turning up anywhere here.
That's 5 successes for me.
Oh fuck! Now there's the one. God damn it. Nope. Eirene still doesn't see shit.
You're distracted by Ulrich's absence.
Yep.
He's not here at all. Madelain, however, you're less distracted, and your acute senses help you in here. It is quite dark in here, but that's not really an issue for you. You're basically tearing this place upside down. Is what it comes down to, because there is clutter in here. It's a basement. It's used to store things. And you know you're close. And you feel the strongest, for lack of a better term, vibrations. Or rather like this, this pulsating on the left wall, and you kind of end up kind of splaying your hands on it and kind of putting your ear up to it as if trying to hear what's on the other side. What you end up accidentally doing is pressing into 2 bricks which press into the wall, but they don't fall out. It's like they are literally like as if they are buttons to be pressed. And you hear kind of a latch unlock on the other side. And you almost Eirene, you see Madelain topple over as the wall part of the center part of the wall just unfolds as if it were a door.
Okay, can she grab Madelain?
No, you're very distracted by Ulrich's absence and looking in other part of the basement. It's quite spacious.
Fair enough. In that case, she will run after.
Yeah, Madelain, you end up falling halfway down a large flight of stairs.
God, you're mad. Certain fairly French, fairly hefty swears will be heard. And she'll get up and she'll plumb down those stairs and see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Despite the gravity of the situation, Irene looks positively a bit shocked by these words coming out of Madelain's mouth.
Yeah, you can understand her profanity. She is nothing if not filth.
Watch your mouth, sir.
Says the swearing French woman. So you end up traveling down these flights of stairs, and it's just a set of torches and a plain flight of stairs downwards. Eventually, it becomes pitch black. For you, Madelain, this is not a problem at all. You can see through the darkness with very simply with your own abilities.
I do believe that Madelain will deactivate Auspex in order to avoid overstimulation if something jumps at her. So
Okay.
she will just deactivate it at this point.
Irene,
Mm-hmm.
in the pitch black darkness, what do you do? Because if you continue walking down, you're going to lose sight of your surroundings, other than the torchlight up the stairs.
The thing with grabbing one of those torches, I mean,
It will not trigger Rotrek for you to grab a torch.
no, I'm more thinking like if you bring a torch to a place that is pitch black, you also immediately focus all the attention on you because you're the one bringing the light.
Mhm.
But then again, torch can also be weapon. She would. She would whisper at Madelain, "You think it's a good idea to bring a torch? I can run
Grab
back
it.
up." Okay. And yeah, she will go and grab a torch then. Actually, if there are two, then she will bring two.
At this point, you can literally feel the dust moving on the ground, and you can actually begin to make out sounds as you travel further down into the blackness. It very much sounds like a very, very low, steady heartbeat.
A heartbeat. Oh. Crap. Okay. Madelain will continue. She will, at some point, she will just get close enough to Eirene so she can see and just gesture for her to slow down a bit. Like, keep up with her, but keep some distance because Madelain is gonna go out in front.
Okay.
Yep, Irene will she'll stay in the back. She would offer Madelain a torch, although she expects that she
No,
definitely
she's
won't need it.
she doesn't
Yeah.
refuse. She just doesn't take it.
And she's actually gonna like kind of as she slows down, she's also gonna feel the walls with her fingers, simply kind of gliding past it.
It's fairly rough rock, very much, not really properly walled. It's you appear to have left the sort of walled section of this of this passageway, and it seems to slowly be turning into a cavern. But as you and you can feel it becoming slowly more spacious, both of you. Madelain, you literally see it begin to spread out into a full cavern.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, by the way, a possibility of like rolling an occult or heart wisdom or something like that?
Well, as you run your hands along the walls of this now cavern, You can feel your fingers bump across what would appear to feel and look like roots and vines, and very sparse foliage and leaves. You may make a half wisdom check.
Because Irene has no clue what's going on here, so, or at least the player doesn't, and I do have.
Good. Yeah, both of you may make half wisdom checks if you have it. If you do not have half wisdom, you cannot make the check either.
Intelligence?
It's intelligence, half wisdom.
Well, there's one success if it's diff 9. Also, if it's any lower diff, by the way, unless it's like diff 4.
It's diff 6.
One success as well.
Yes.
Okay. So, what you're feeling, the roots aren't too abnormal. Could be provided by perhaps things such as mosses, ferns, liverworts. There are plants known to live within caves in the twilight area of caves more commonly, but you do know that there are plants, particularly fungi, tend to grow within caves and caverns. There is something for them to be nourished on. For example, if it is just rock, then obviously it is highly unlikely that any plants will grow there whatsoever. What sticks out to you is the RV ferns, any sort of like almost like misshaped ivy vines that seem to run along the walls. Such things should not grow down here. There is no sunlight, frankly. They need sunlight to grow to some extent or another. Ferns exist within the on the edge and just within caves where there is just a little bit of light. Such life does not exist within the darkness, it merely languishes. So for something to exist here, there must either be light or something else that is causing it to remain nourished. As both of you begin to enter deeper into this cavern, the torches that you're carrying, Eirene, become rather useful as there is literally no light here whatsoever. It's worse than pitch black. The torchlight from the stairway has since faded. It is a long distance away now. It is barely a glimmer in your eye, and without this torch, you almost certainly could not see it. You can hear the rather faint dropping of water. Slowly eroding the rock over thousands of years. It becomes more damp. But with it, life becomes a bit more vivid here, but only in the flora. There is no fauna, there is no wildlife.
The heartbeat.
The heartbeat is only growing. At this point, you can literally hear it. And as you head on in closer, you actually begin to see a light. It's almost as if there's some sort of clearing in the cave, like some sort of yeah, literally a wide, spacious area. You've just been going straight this whole time. It's kind of like a natural alcove in a way, but much larger.
Well, there's only one way to go.
You finally do begin to see signs of life here, insects. Largely. You do see some bats. You do see yeah, mainly very primitive life. It's the bats that really stand out. They seem to be eating largely the insects. They're very small. But there is a lot of them. Or there are a lot of them.
Eirene will kind of glance over to Madelain to see if they're still continuing on.
Oh, she is.
Good. And Eirene will as well.
Madelain, you recognize the flora here as from the gardens within the palace.
There
are some stark similarities. Although the life forms here are much more suited to a cavernous environment, but there is still flora that requires sunlight to exist, but yet flourishes here, almost in harmony with the natural cavernous wildlife.
Madelain doesn't necessarily slow down, but she, like Eirene, what she can see, she seems a little bit less tense now. I wouldn't go so far to say that Madelain is relaxed, but she does seem a bit like loosened up a little.
You see, as you kind of walk along, it begins to turn into a bit of almost like a wildlife trail, as you kind of have to follow a thinner path, although not a path. It's not been dug out or anything. It is completely wild, overrun with vines and roots and dirt and rock. But there are these small lakes and ponds that kind of dot the area as you go on deeper, until finally you begin to see the wildlife kind of coalesce around this particularly big red lake that you don't need to roll. Consists entirely of vitae. The roots, the vines, Eirene, that you are following along the walls, all of them across the edges, the boundaries of this lake, and are deeply connected to it. They all interconnect here within the lake. This lake of vitae, and at its center, you can see the source of the heartbeat itself. You see this.
There's a person in there?
There is. It can only really be decided. It's a large chrysalis with these rocks and vines wrapped well around it, but it glows brightly, and you can see the shadow of what would appear to be a feminine figure within it stirring. You can lightly hear uh, the sounds of her rustling and not muttering, but groaning and growling.
Madelain will do a roll. She will do aura perception on this thing. And she will activate her auspex again to lower the difficulty.
Okay.
What is oh god damn it.
That's hilarious.
That's one success, right? Because the difficulty is 7.
Difficulty would be 7. You got a 3, a 1, a 5, a 10, a 4, a 4, and a 4.
Yeah. So if it's reduced by 2 by auspex itself.
It's reduced by your auspex. Yeah, it's reduced by, so it's difficulty. Well, it starts at difficulty 8, lowered by 2 is 6. You got a 1 and a 10. Then
Oh
it cancels
god damn it.
out.
I thought it was 7. Can I do it again at a higher difficulty?
Yeah, not immediately. Not immediately. What happens is that you're kind of buffeted by the sheer magnitude of this thing's aura. It spreads out across the entire cavern. You can see its aura spread out across the roots and the vines, across the leaves. You can see pinpricks of its aura within the creatures that reside within this place. From the insects to the plants to the bats to all the cavernous wildlife, from the fauna to the flora. The cocoon itself is like a giant torch. It's heavily bioluminescent. You can see clearly in this place, and the light reflects off it. Reflects off the water in an almost mesmerizing fashion.
Tell me when I can roll again. But yeah, Madelain has.
It's difficult for you to maintain your focus just because this thing's aura is so vast. Like it fills your vision.
Madelain blinks a little and just try to reverse her gaze for a moment. She looks around. She just looks at Eirene. She's clearly concerned.
Eirene is, well, returning a concerned look, and slowly kind of walks up to the lake. She has no clue what Madelain just did, and she's just gonna dip her fingers in the lake.
What is the smell of the Vitae like? Is it very clearly very rich, or is it just that it's blood of a certain, like, can you tell by the smell that it's very potent? Or is it just blood?
You normally can, but Vitae often is reduced to. You can get a rough idea at least, but not from scent, but from taste.
Okay.
But it's Vitae is also known to revert to blood, normal blood, very quickly when exposed to air, when removed from the system of a canite.
Okay.
It seems to be preserved here. It's what immediately also strikes you as strange is how is it able to how did it get here and how's it still here?
Madelain is looking at it, looking at the chrysalis and just thinking,
With?
like, Madelain is thinking that the pool and this thing inside is probably connected.
Yeah, you can. The feminine voice often twists and contorts within this shell. For 1 minute, it appears as if she is taken by ecstasies and arrives within the cocoon. The next, it appears as if she is in intense pain, and there is muffled screaming and growling. And then the next, as if she is in the throes of frenzy. And the next, there is simple calmness. And you can hear muscle and bone contorting and cracking, and the form shift and change, always changing between forms. The cocoon even seems to largen and shrink at different times to accommodate for these shifting forms, most of which are not comprehensible and don't make much sense to you, in the sense that you can only really see their black outline from the cocoon, but also from the fact that they literally don't seem to have a practical purpose. You look upon this form of like what appear to be a dozen hands or claws, but they're all misshapen or in the wrong place or half melded to each other, and it would be more crippling than it would be useful. But no matter what form this being always takes, it always returns to the form of a woman before transitioning to a new form.
How, like, how deep is the lake?
Deep.
Crap.
You could swim in it.
Not sure if Irene could swim, but she could try. And is it warm or cold?
I would say that's a good question.
Thank you.
I would say yeah, I would say warm, as if it were fresh, as if it were taken from a still living body.
Yeah, okay. Irene will look over at Madelain and then kind of shrugs, just like, I think we need to get closer. And she'll start taking off her shoes and her clothes. And yeah, I think she's gonna leave one of the Fuck you. I mean, see, it doesn't take much
Irene,
for
ladies and
Irene to
gentlemen.
take off her. It does not take much for Irene to take off her clothes.
Madelain will stay and try to regain like focus in her eyes so she doesn't get fucking blinded again. And she will look, and I believe I will spend a willpower
What are you doing?
or a perception again.
Okay. As a
That's
diff
3 successes.
Okay. Well, again, the aura spreads across the entire room, across the entire cavern. The cocoon itself is positively bursting with life, with such a wide array of sensations and emotions that you could not possibly begin to fathom them all. Not in this this ever not in this context. People don't feel all these things at the same time. It is impossible to have all emotions simultaneously felt at the same time. It would be madness. It would literally be madness. But each color, each 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 part of that self, each emotion seems to spread out across each root, each vine. And it is an absolutely glorious display of colors across the entire cavern.
Is there any difference between that and then the person in the cocoon?
Not that you can tell the kind of the magnitude and force of the aura emanating from the cocoon, most likely emanating from the person, but it seems to block you from fully reading the aura in a totally coherent state. You can see that this person, it's probably a person, is definitely feeling emotion. They're spread out over these vines and roots, which suggests that that's a part of them.
Madelain will look at Eirene, and she will just come over to her and just say, I do not believe you should go in there. I do believe that... I do not think we should disturb this place.
But then what?
I do not know
Where's
yet. I believe that
Ulrich?
this... I do not know. But this place, I think it is not... I think it is a counterbalance to whoever is in there. I believe that whoever that is something or someone being kept here against their will. I'm not certain, of course.
You think it is a prison?
In a sense. But I do not
And then,
understand this. Ulrich would have known of this. Why he did not tell me.
well, we haven't found it. I mean, the sheer force. We could feel it, like when we approached the castle. And also, who is or what is the evil part in this? Is it the woman, or is it the prison?
I fear it is the woman. Or she might be feeding all of this. Maybe this is not as malevolent as I think it is. You can see that Madelain just looks at some of the flowers and just has some of the leaves or whatever in her fingers. Just very lightly just caresses them, just looks at the chrysalis. She seems quite taken in with all of this. She goes over and she will go close to the chrysalis and just have a look in there. It's clear, right? Like
To get to the chrysalis, you have to swim through the blood lake because it exists at the center of the blood lake.
Okay.
Which is why Irene was heading that way.
Okay, there is no other way. Well, I can think
It's
of
at the
one.
center of the blood lake, so no. Unless you
I
can
can think of a way, but
go ahead.
Actually, there's one thing I also would like to try.
Okay. Both of
Since
you do your thing.
since Madelain, well, my thing is really easy, and if I'm correct, I don't really need to make a roll for it.
Okay.
But since Madelain basically explained to Irene that everything is connected to that thing, she is going to walk over to, like, some of those vines that are like in the or against walls, and she's going to put her hand on it, just kind of gently squeeze, is gonna like this is totally random, and I'm really just probably not. There's not gonna be anything probably. As she is just kind of leaning forward to Divine and just whispers, "Can you hear me?"
All right. 1 moment. When you press your hand against the vine, you begin to feel a sensation run up your arm, through your shoulder, through your joints, up through your neck, up through your head until it seems to reach like your temple area, your temples. And your vision of this place fades from view. Replaced simply by this green yet black and misty backdrop, and this face.
Fun.
Uh-oh, we've crossed you, and we've crossed worlds, and that is not a good thing to encounter because, yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a quick courage check there.
Please do.
Oh boy. I fail. It's not a botch though. But she's gonna try and let go of the vine.
You let go of the vine. The image lingers in your mind, and you can see nothing but this face.
Crap.
Although you seem to understand it, although it does not talk to you, there is no voice in your head. It's almost more primal. You feel a prodding sensation in your mind, and the surface thoughts of your name begin rising to the surface.
Madelain will come over to Eirene when she sees the reaction.
Yeah, Madelain, you don't see this face at all. You're just like, what?
No, but she does see
a panic.
Eirene, and she just looks to Eirene. Did you see something?
You don't see Madelain, but you can hear her.
Okay. I see a woman. She's in my head.
Her tendril-like hair just seems to flutter as if there was a breeze. You can actually hear the rattling, like, almost, almost like as if it were, almost like if it were bark and wind chimes clamoring against each other, like clashing against each other.
Eirene will kind of ask again, "Who are you?" She's probably speaking this out loud, so Madelain can definitely hear that.
You feel a prodding sensation in your mind again, and flashes of images enter your mind, as do words, but not a voice. The concept of a name almost seems redundant. Oh,
This is not really calming in any kind of way, you know that, right?
What was the?
and for reference, as you see that image, you do recognize the tiny, insignificant size of a fishing boat next to her, as if she were a giant.
Boy. Are you an angel?
There is, you have a sense of contradiction in your mind.
Okay.
As if you were being simultaneously confirmed and denied.
Madelain will go over and touch the body.
Okay. Madelain, you see that?
Do you wish to be left in peace?
You too feel a prodding sensation in your mind. You feel the sensation of curiosity and the surface thoughts of your name. And other things seem to float to the surface of of your mind.
Do you have a name? Do I have something that you call yourself, or are you simply?
These are not the only things you see. This being seems to be in a state of flux. You see a myriad of images and forms.
Is there a lore we can roll that makes sense of this?
No.
Yay. In
You
that
begin
case,
to see more images. There is a sense of companionship as you feel as you literally witness the view of an angel. You feel the gentle breeze as it flaps its wings. You almost feel the gentle caress of light on your skin. You reminisce about all your favorite scents. You see not a cavern, but a sky as it flies blissfully into moonlight. You then see a child with similar wings made of blood, doing much the same thing as it returns to the surface.
how well of an image can we get of that child?
It's you do not see the facial features of this
Okay, check.
angelic being at all.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see something quite different. From this, you get a sense of authority, respect, strength. Mourning and acceptance. Kingship. Domain. Emperor. Prince. These thoughts are barely comprehensible within your head. It's almost as if they're under some sort of translation. Like you're only really capturing a fragment of what is being communicated to you, and this is what you're seeing. But you do understand this is not the self that is communicating to you. This is something from without. This is a comrade, a friend, an enemy.
Madelain stands there for a moment, just taking in all of this. Eirene, you will hear, well, yeah, Madelain will say it, but Chris will determine whether or not something happens to it. She will just say, Mother Lilith, this is a great blessing. Help me make sense of this. I hope that no cosmic fists beat me up at that point, but
Oh man, yeah. Irene was actually more thinking in the line of, is this like the actual La Sombra? But like, out of character Lilith was one of my options. But well, I mean, Irene doesn't know about that.
The face returns. You feel the sensation of curiosity, but also stern judgment. Eirene, you feel it burrowing deeper, but not into you. Madelain, it's not really burrowing into you more than thoughts are rising to the surface. Deep thoughts, possessive ones you normally would not want to share, because they are so personal to you. Eirene, this is also communicated to you as if you are now all linked together. There is the sense of pain, the passion derived from such a thing, the duty associated with the veneration of the Dark Mother, this primal, wild worship that began with something old, very old. Older than perhaps, no, but maybe. There is almost the deep examination of memories and these thoughts, the experiences, the countless experiences that Madelain has had, indulging pain, learning from it, experiencing it, sharing it with others in a myriad of different ways.
you will probably see a torture chamber. You will see lashing of skin. You will also see like suffering in general on many different levels.
Well, Irene is already pretty scared, so yeah.
Of this or of Madelain?
Well, at this point, I don't really think she can really tell one apart from the
This is
other.
true. This is not words. This is not a presence in your head. This is not something. I say it's burrowing deeper into you, but really it feels like a part of it is burrowing deeper into you, as if its ego is too large to fit inside your head, and not in a
Mhm.
sense as if it's arrogant, as if its being
It's
is
trying to fit an
literally,
ocean into a teacup.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And at the same time, the problem Irene has at this point is that all mother figures in her life have kind of, in one way or another, betrayed her. So she's not too keen on like motherly figures.
A shame you're basically blind right now.
Hmm?
Nothing.
Sorry, what?
Nope. It the thoughts of this torture chamber, the thoughts of the pain, both raw, more subtle, physical, emotional, psychological, the manipulations involved. To an extent, there's a degree of satisfaction, but it is not communicated via pain rather than it is communicated via the manipulation itself. But it's not really satisfaction more than it is acknowledgement. Um, the pain itself is largely dismissed. There is not approval regarding pain. In fact, there is a sense of um, disappointment. There is something lacking, uh, something that is not there. There is strength gained, but no application, no binding ideal. There is the virtue is not there. There is control and there is conviction. But these are not, or rather, there is instinct and there is conviction, but these are not virtues that seem to matter to this creature. It is not what it considers to be. It is not a beast. It does not value these traits.
As Madelain does this, she will just say, "We are less than you, I'm afraid. And our kind has a different view of the world. I understand."
There is a sense of swarm power. These communications to you understand to be true, or rather, the concept of honesty is sent to you. You sense that everything that has been sent to you is true. You see strength derived not just from pain, but from servitude fulfilled, and from servitude there has been power, and that has resulted in freedom. But there has also been but with this power came something else. You recognize it as some form of duty or responsibility, but you're not sure what it is. It seems to shift. The responsibility seems to be in a state of flux. It seems to change. It's almost as if you're watching history at like 100 miles an hour. You can't really grasp what this duty is before it changes because something happens, but you're not sure what's happening either. It's almost like you're seeing a blurred image and you're able to pick out tiny fragments of these blurred images that are on fast forward. but at the core of it all is some form of word, of responsibility, of honor. It does not see this trait in you. It does not see it valued. This does not seem to please it, but it does not seem surprised.
We are all flawed, and I am no exception. One thing I do have is time. Time to perfect myself. And hopefully one day I will.
The images freeze. It rewinds the images it has shown you. It then fast forwards them back and forth as if to make the point that everything has time. Eirene, in you it begins trying to throw out various traits. You see your own memories spill forth.
Oh boy.
You see your lifeless, mortal life. One that perhaps satisfied you, something that inspires a great deal of. You just feel a feeling of roiling blackness in your chest as your mortal life spills from the back of your mind. You then see the introduction of Celine, your would-be sire, into your life. You see yourself killing your family before you are embraced.
Yep.
Almost as if it's something you decided to forget. That memory sticks out like it's new, but it's not, as if it's news to you, but it feels very old.
Eirene will kind of like she's probably on the ground anyway because of all this stuff going on in her head. So she kind of curls up into a ball. This is not like one of the memories that she's very proud of. And something that she is definitely trying desperately hard to forget.
It begins shuffling through your memories, although you don't really keep track of it. In fact, it's almost as if it's letting you see. There are points where these visions just fade from your mind, and you're just left with a face. The face actually begins to move a little bit, its eyes narrow on you. It looks upon you with a great disdain, a greater one than Madelain. The blackness in your chest intensifies, a sort of redness fills your eyes, as if it despises. It does not despise you. It despises your impotence. It despises your acceptance. In fact, it despises your eagerness, honorless servitude, meaningless servitude, something that has no purpose, thus removing the purpose of the self. As it shuffles through your memories, it looks more fondly upon times of assertion, of action, of loyalty, of commitment, of emotion that matters. It senses your connection to your new sire, but it's as if it already knew, as if it always knew.
Do you know where Ulrich is? Do you know of the man? And Madelain will try to think of Ulrich. Do you know where he is? Do you know of him?
It continues shuffling through Irene's memories for the moment. You feel the thought you issue kind of lodged in place at the front of your head, almost as if it's just stopped there. As if you're stopped mid-thought, like a part of your mind is frozen in place to be accounted for at a later date. It runs through Irene's mind. It looks with a great interest regarding the relationship between you and your new sire. There is the sensation of curiosity, of a growing respect, of a constant frustration. It sees the Setites in your mind and sneers. It sees Gufran in particular, and there is a flaming hatred. It sees a green fire. It sees an old tablet. It sees the remnants of a false mother. It looks on you with interest. There is the sensation of insatiable interest, yet also concern, suspicion, like it's waiting for you to do something, as if you should do something, as if for the first time in your life you should do something.
I mean, as soon as she goes through those memories, there is definitely anger rising up in Eirene. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, no, fuck it. Because that's just pure hatred. She hates that entity. But she's scared of it, but she hates it.
Your fear is suppressed, your anger is focused. The sensation of control is focused, the sensation of assertion is focused. It is almost as if your mind is being sharpened, like a sword being put to a whetstone.
Her fangs extend.
You feel sparks fly inside your brain. It waits for an action. You feel pressed to act.
I mean, there's not necessarily anything that she can act towards right now, except in her head. And I mean, I think she realizes that like this is happening in her head. So she would lash out, but yeah. Like, unless she doesn't realize that this is not real, in that case she would literally, like, physically lash out.
Lashing out, a sense of retaliation or a sense to reassert control, is rewarded by a sense of acknowledgement.
I mean, like, the last time that she met that false mother, basically, she tore it to pieces. That
Or
is
rather,
not
it
a.
was torn to pieces for you.
It was torn to pieces, but like in her vision, in her mind, it was her that ripped pieces off of her. So that is basically what she's doing, or what she's reliving, re-experiencing.
There's a sense of first fulfilled, there is a sense of intrigue satisfied. There is a sense of contentment, and yet all of this is in a state of flux, always changing. They are just emphasized over the swirl of thoughts and emotions. They fill your mind. You feel this sense of a long night's rest coming to a close. You see a hand pulling a sword from the depths of the earth. You see bloodshed. You see a cycle being renewed. You would understand this concept as war. War is coming.
She nods. She
You
kind
see
of knew
blue
that.
bloods taking fight to knights of three eyes. Buffeted by wielders of foul magic. You see monsters covering the sky and the earth, being ridden by the creatures and children of Cain. At the backdrop of a burning city and a building pile of dead mortals, and you feel a sense of resentment and failure from this creature, as if Odessa has failed. And this is a disappointing affair, as if control must be reasserted.
Madelain will just ask, do you think of the dream when you think of this disappointment?
Angels are reborn in ashes. Dreams do not die.
But people do. And they
You
dream.
mistake your weak flesh for my own. I do not end.
No. But things you are showing. All those mortals. Their lives may not be as powerful as yours, but they mean something. Their lives may not even be as powerful as ours, but still they mean something.
Its eyes kind of almost look as if it's sizing you up. I am not destroying this city. Look upon your own first.
I did not say you were. I apologize if you thought that was the case.
You are bold at all the wrong moments, and weak at all the wrong moments.
Will you
Yeah,
say
wry, accepting smile at that. She
Madelain
realizes
will
that.
just say, "Do you stay in this place? Should we seal this place off?"
You're here because I allowed you to find me. Stop accepting your failings and start acting on them.
Do you know of the one that Ulrich hunts? The one that has, she looks over to Eirene briefly, affected Eirene.
These are not my questions to answer. That is a privilege that has not been earned.
And is there a way for us to earn the privilege from you?
It looks by the time you have earned the answer, it will be irrelevant.
Well, is there something we can do for you?
What can you do that I cannot?
Why did you allow us in here?
You have been deemed necessary.
For
By who?
correcting Edessa's path?
For the reclamation of something far more important.
The reclamation of what exactly?
It does not matter whether you understand it or not.
Well, if we are necessary for something, we must know what it is and what exactly must be done.
No.
Well, then what can you tell us that you have not told us already?
You are of misdirected passion, and that one is weak. I do not see you succeeding as you are now.
That might be true. You are very knowledgeable and clearly quite powerful. But we will face the challenges presented to us, and if we perish in so doing, that will be our fate.
I really want that.
A life well lived relative to the mongrels from without. Look at its cower. This is not a child of darkness. It does not deserve a prince as a sire. This is disgraceful.
So you know of our kind. Well, I suppose you know of pretty much everything.
It shames your prince. Dishonors him without even realizing. Unwilling to take control of its own life, it relies on others like a common parasite. Nothing of virtue. Are humans parasites? It, like, seems that its words are like thick oil that wash over you, Eirene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can I like spend a willpower and roll courage again, because that is just plain insulting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you fail, you prove it right, which is hilarious.
If I want to spend the willpower.
How much willpower do you have left? Because you're only getting one back a month.
I spend,
And you got some back from your nature recently.
yeah. I spent 1 recently, so I'm at 6.
Okay.
So with the spent now, I'll be at 5. And I got 2 successes. Unless it was div 9 and I have 1 success.
You hold fast in the face of this creature's insult.
She will stand up. From like where she was sitting, kind of curled up on the ground. Perhaps I am weak, perhaps I do show fear. I know that I am flawed. But my sire chose me because he saw something in me. And I will do whatever it takes to prove that he is right. If that means proving that you are wrong, then so be it. I am not afraid.
Good. Now you may succeed. And its vision from you is cut. You realize as it speaks to you directly, as it spoke to you directly, is it as if it was extraordinarily self-restrained? Like it was funneling words into your mind. Like just so it could communicate. Like it had to be precise. It had to be careful. No, that's not supposed to happen.
Clearly, the La Sombra are stunned into silence.
Quite so. Madelain stands there for a moment, looks to Eirene, smiles at her, and just takes her hand.
For reference, this creature has not stopped morphing even when it was speaking to you, and seemed to be in a constant state of flux. You could even hear its own groaning and growling, and moaning and yelling and screaming, muffled by the cocoon as it talked to you, and the cracking of joints and the shifting of flesh.
Madelain will just say to Eirene, "It's good. You showed courage. I can respect that, in the face of such a thing. But we will need more in the days to come. Whatever this thing is, I hope that we are able to remember once we leave this place."
Yes, I hope so too. I
Shall leave this.
Yes. However, Madeleine, one thing. Over the past months, I did realize that I have to change, but it is difficult.
Especially for our kind.
I will need your help as well.
I know. Do not worry. We will talk of this later. Madeleine looks at the pool of blood, looks at the cocoon, just puts a hand on the vine again, and just says, "It has been a true honor to speak with whatever you are, divine or otherwise. Would it be you know of our kind's predilection, what we must do? I assume that you would not have us touch anything in this cave, would not have us taste anything."
There is no real response. There is just the constant shifting of forms, and the returning to this one effeminate form time and time again.
I must ask, may I partake but a little of the divine?
There is no response, just the constant shifting of form.
Madeleine will go over to the pool of blood.
Yeah, Irene will follow.
She'll go down on her knees and she won't like pray or anything, but she will sit there for a moment just taking in this sight and put like cup her hand and just put it under the blood and see if she can take something up in her hand.
Make me a self-control check, please. Difficulty 9.
Self-control. Wow, that's some time since I've done that. One moment. Well, it's conviction for me, right?
No, it's instinct.
Instinct. I make it.
It is mostly human blood, but in it you can taste a mere morsel of the richest vita you've ever had. So potent as to be all-consuming.
Madelain just takes a couple of minutes just sitting there. Her eyes are just suddenly going haywire and just looking around and going like, and she sits there, and Irene, you can tell, like, you're close to her, like, Madelain is...
Although it is could be tasty, there's a thin, oily sheen to it, and it tends to be a bit sticky. It's actually kind of hard to consume in a way. It takes you longer than normal.
But Madeleine will get up after a little, and she will begin to leave.
Irene will, like, she's watched Madeleine carefully, and as she gets up and starts to leave, Irene will look over at the lake, considering, and will then shake her head and simply say, I'll come back when I'm more worthy. And she'll leave with Madeleine.
You walk back through the cavern up the stairs. You finally go looking for Ulrich. As you leave the cavern, it will close naturally behind you. Oh, I'm just asking if you go looking for Ulrich.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Where do you go looking?
At this time, Madeleine will begin to look at the study, at the in the main hall, his bedroom, like everywhere.
Okay, eventually you reach the tower, you saw the foreboding figure.
Just one thing before they actually leave the basement. Irene will look at Madeleine and says, do we tell him?
Honestly, I do not know if I do believe it when it said we were able to find it because it allowed us to. If we tell him, well, if we tell him, he will spend time searching.
Perhaps, perhaps not.
I do not believe keeping secrets from Ulrich. Whether or not he will believe what I say, of course, is another thing, but let us find him first.
Yes.
Eventually, we will get up to the tower.
It's a winding journey. But eventually, you come to see him. His back turned in his golden armor, his red cloak watching over the city, his eyes focused on Edessa in the distance, smoke billowing out from the rioting. Transfixed on that one place.
My Baron.
His head turns.
Madeleine curtsies.
His entire body is still shifted towards Well, his back is still turned to you.
We've come from Edessa. The city's in uproar. Hundreds of rats have been released, and with them comes a disease that has already done much damage to the city. I was not able to find the watch captain of our city, but I have begun to make preparations. Some guards will not let people in tonight, and the rest, or tomorrow. I do believe the word should be spread out for proper channels.
We have been preparing for this eventuality for months. You need not be concerned.
I still wish to inform you personally.
Noted.
You knew that this was coming.
I warned you, didn't I?
Well, that something was coming. Also, I do believe that there is something else. But do not think of it as the wrong way. Have you ever felt something beneath this place?
I already know you met the Dragon of Timuran.
It is. What is it? Do you know? You'd call it the Dragon of Timuran, but what entirely is it?
It's still figuring that out for itself, I believe.
So that is why you built this place here.
It would be unwise to assume that. There are many reasons why this city was built here. It is always easy for people to distill one overarching narrative, but that is never the case. But that is a being of great power and loyalty to its ideas. Ideas that will reshape this world and bring it back to what it always should have been.
Do we know if this perhaps is your ultimate quarry's goal, or is it just another thing that shares the nights with us?
You would be conflating two entirely separate entities.
I am not saying that they are the same. I am a person or being of that power perhaps would garner the attention of something, but if you say they are unrelated, I will take your word for it.
To understand the motivations of something so vast, you'll have to risk madness. And look at what happened to Markavians.
Well, I suppose that is true. Is there anything else you would require of me, my Baron? Oh, my prince, I am sorry.
I noticed that. There is one thing. We're going to war. He just turns around, like shimmies. He just begins walking past you.
Madelain follows, and she's, I see, my prince. Against whom?
The treaty will not hold under these decrepit circumstances. One of these clans will strike. We must be ready for when they do.
I see.
Then will these seize their domains across the region and reassert full Lusombra control.
And hopefully our agreement with the Assamites will hold true. Of course, they are not necessarily affected in the same way, but still, hopefully this will work.
It will, but I fear they are not long for this world.
Them as a whole, or the local representation?
There will be casualties of war.
I see. I will begin to make preparations with your blessing.
Now we begin the specific details. Of our aforementioned plans. Eirene.
Yes.
The Seneschal will have a task for you in your coterie. He asked me to inform you.
Did he give you the task?
No.
Or will we
I
visit
believe
him?
he wants to deliver it to you and your coterie personally. While war rages and death falls on a city, smaller threats will go unnoticed. Not even the sheriff will be able to keep up with everything involved.
I will contact my coterie and we will make our way to the Seneschal as soon as we are capable.
I fully expect what has been stated here this evening not to pass beyond these walls.
Of course.
Of course not, my prince.
I'll come before you awaken a second dragon. And he'll just walk down the stairs.
I believe the two will follow him.
Yep.
And now we will end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we will see you all next time.